Great to have you on. Now, I feel like this weekend is really defined by these star-studded quarterbacks these two teams have. So to start us off, run me down how you think Will Levis's performance has been so far this season.
I think Will Levis, from just as being a quarterback at his standpoint, he's really taken the next step. Like, I think we've seen play out why he was high on draft boards this offseason. Big arm, can make every throw, is playing in a pro style system, seems to be in total control. But the biggest thing has been just the protection has not been good for Kentucky. Pass protection has been a big issue, and until Chris Rodriguez returned just a couple weeks ago, finding balance with the running game was a big issue. So a lot was on Levis's shoulders, and he was taking a beating, which is showing why he missed the South Carolina game a couple weeks ago. But all in all, I think he's been about as good as you could have hoped for or expected. Averaging over 10 yards per attempt. Some of his explosive passing numbers are right there, top 5, top 10 nationally. He's been really good. It's just been, for Kentucky, kind of the surrounding parts that let him down a little bit. That's really what's kind of put a hard ceiling on this offense at certain points in the season. But now that they got Chris Rodriguez back, the O-line's getting better. It seems like the arrow's pointing up for the offense, and they're hopeful they can close strong in these last 5 games.
Well, on the other side now, how do you see the Wildcats defense sizing up against Hendon Hooker and these Tennessee skill players?
Yeah, it's going to be pretty tough. I mean, this is an offense putting up a 50 burger per game, but Kentucky they've been very, very good on defense this year. You could make the argument it's a top 10 defense in college football this season. They don't really have one true weakness, I would say. They play really good team defense. They don't really have any stars. Like, I don't know if we'll look up at all SEC teams and see many Kentucky players on there, but they're old, they're experienced, and they're very smart. And their defensive coordinator, Brad White, I think, is one of the more underrated play callers in college football. Kentucky knows who they are. They play to an identity, both on offense and defense, and they're typically a group that doesn't make a lot of mistakes. There's not going to be a lot of coverage bust, stuff like that. They in the words of Bill Belichick, they do their jobs, and that leads to success. Now we'll see how it happens against Tennessee. I think the big thing for Kentucky is you don't want Jalen Hyatt streaking down the middle of the field wide open for 60, 70-yard bomb. If they can limit that, I think they're going to have a chance to get some stops and hang in this game. But if they don't, it can be a long day if this game turns into a shootout.
Well, considering the preseason expectations, what do you think that this win would do for Kentucky?
This win, I think, for Kentucky, like, the season's a success if they win on Saturday. They go down, Tennessee's having a dream season. It's for Kentucky fans, specifically in the South to eastern portion of the state, this is the number one rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
You beat Tennessee, undefeated Tennessee, number 3 Tennessee, with a potential Heisman Trophy quarterback. That's the kind of win in a rivalry that will hang around for a long, long time. So for Kentucky, there's a house money situation, I think, for them. No one's really expecting them to win, but Kentucky's thinking they got a pretty good team. They can go down here and win. If they win, the season is just there was high expectations going into the season. It's going to be hard at this point to host Georgia November 19th for the SEC East title, but going down and beating Tennessee makes everybody's going to forget about the tough losses that happened this year if you're able to go down and win a game like this.
Right. Can you give me a quick rundown on what the history of this matchup has been like over the past couple of years?
Yeah, Tennessee had the long winning streak over Kentucky for forever. Kentucky snaps that, but since then, Kentucky hasn't been able to take advantage of a down Tennessee program. I believe they're 3-7 in the last 10. They've gotten some wins, but they were against bad Tennessee teams, which there were a lot of bad Tennessee teams during that time. But it's just been kind of a program and a fan base just kind of just tormented Kentucky's football program and fan base for most people's lifetimes that have been following the team. So there's a lot of anxiety, I think, on Kentucky's end, just thinking what can go wrong, will go wrong in this series. And Mark Stoops and them have knocked down a lot of big doors, right? They've won 2 of the last 3 times in the swamp. They're playing for SEC East titles. They're winning 10 games a year. They're playing Georgia in biggest games in the SEC East, but the Tennessee has really kind of been a thorn in their side. Last year, they felt they had a better team than Tennessee, and they let one slip away at home. 2018, they go down there, 10-win team, cannot beat a bad Tennessee team. And so this is the one that they have to start winning more often. And so that's really the one thing for Kentucky now that's kind of been holding them back. They They are beating South Carolina consistently. They're beating Missouri consistently. They're beating Florida 3 out of 5. They're beating them consistently now. Now they got to start beating Tennessee more. And that, as Kentucky continues this climb up the SEC ladder, getting on the right side of the series is really important.
Now, I know you can't really answer this for sure, but do you see Mark Stoops going anywhere?
Yeah, I never say never. As of right now, no. With the job openings in this market, I do not see that happening. I think if Iowa comes open, I know there's a lot of scuttlebutt up there with unhappy about the offense. That's always been a possibility because he played there, his brothers played there. It's a special place. Leaning into the Citrus Bowl, they talked about when his dad died, they buried him with his Iowa jersey. Like, that's a very special place to him. So that would be interesting if that opened, but I don't think it's a slam dunk decision for him to leave Kentucky for Iowa. Outside of that, I think the way Mark Stoops coaches and builds and wants to win, it seems like a Big Ten program would be the best fit potentially, but you don't see any of those big ones opening. So as of right now, I think he's going to be standing put, but like we've seen with carousel, things can get crazy. People can make crazy decisions, and so we'll see. But I think Kentucky feels comfortable that he's still going to be here for a few more years at least.
All right. What do you think the main thing that Kentucky really needs to achieve in order to pull off this win will be?
Yeah, I know this is kind of the cop-out when you're talking about upsets, but turnovers, like if they can get a couple turnovers, I think it's going to be big, especially with how Kentucky's going to want to play. They're going to shrink this game. They're not going to want to get in a track meet, up and down shootout with Tennessee. They're going to want to milk the clock, keep Tennessee on the sidelines, limit possessions. And if you get in a limited possession game and you can steal 1 or 2 possessions there at stops and get a turnover, I think that's the ticket for Kentucky. I think really it's hanging in early. You're not getting overwhelmed by Tennessee's tempo early in that game. Just hanging around and getting into that stadium, close game in the fourth quarter where it maybe starts to get a little nervous energy, fills that place, and then if you can get a turnover too, you're gonna have a great shot. And then you got to hope your star quarterback can go win it for you late.
Right. It's not a cop-out if it's the truth.
Right.
Thank you so much.
You
That
go.
is Adam Luckett with Kentucky Sports Radio. Looking forward to watching this matchup this weekend.